Hi guys, and welcome back to the Fill Your Boots podcast. Today I have the pleasure of being joined by Leah Hollingsworth. She's a fellow coach, figure competitor. Hi Leah, thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you. I'm really, really excited for this actually. Looking forward to having a bit of a chat.
I know, you got your podcast too, haven't you? What's it called?
It's
Remind
called
me.
Anything Goes with Sanaya and Leah. So it's
Yeah,
I think we're on like episode 16 now, so it's fairly new. But
yeah,
it's around female bodybuilding. So the
yeah,
goal of it is to help educate females around bodybuilding. And we've also tried to make it quite like fun and like lighthearted as well. So it's like common topics around female bodybuilding and competing and family
yeah,
and all that sort of stuff around prep. But I
yeah.
really enjoy it. It's just nice having a good chat.
I know we were just saying that before the podcast. We're both just like talking, so
Yeah.
this kind of works quite well.
Basically, I just like talking.
Does work well. Do you want to give yourself a better intro than I just gave you? Like what what do you do? I know you're the founder of Undivided Coaching.
Yeah.
You've got awesome socials. So yeah, give us a rundown.
Um, where do I start? So just if I talk too much, just tell me to shut up.
You can never
Um,
talk too much on this podcast. It's all good.
yeah, so I've basically have Undivided Coaching, which it specializes in helping women kind of take things to the next level. So I've got a lot of girls who are either going into kind of photo shoots or want to prep at some point. Still a lot of lifestyle clients as well, but yeah, that's kind of evolved a lot more over the last couple of years as I've got more involved in competing and going down that route, which has
Yeah.
been really exciting. So, and we do a lot of work around kind of mindset and well-being and that sort of thing, because I think sorry, I'm going off on a tangent already.
No, that's fine.
Because there's a lot of coaches out there, obviously prep coaches, and it's very kind of bodybuilding is life, like, that
Yeah.
sort of thing. Whereas I wanted to go more down the route of being like, yes, you can still do that and still get incredible results, but also health, mindset, like how you feel is also
Very important.
important. So I think
Yeah.
I want to do it in terms of doing it with people the right way and making sure they know what they're getting themselves into, because let's
Mm-hmm.
face it, like I think a lot of people get into bodybuilding when they probably shouldn't or aren't ready. So
Yeah.
I don't want
Yeah.
to be someone that just puts people on stage for the sake of
Yeah.
getting numbers on stage. You know what I mean? I want to do
Yeah.
it for the right reason. So
Damn,
yeah,
that's one of the questions I was going to ask you. You've already answered it, basically. It's on the list. I was
sorry, I told you I go off on a tangent. But
I
yeah,
might as
that's
well just pull that
fine.
one up now, actually, because it's a really good point. Um, Basically, like, I think half the time, if you've been in the gym or you've been training for a couple of years, quite often you'll
Yeah,
get pushed into bodybuilding. It's like
yeah,
this is the next step for you, and it's not
yeah,
necessarily the next step for everyone.
yeah, definitely.
What's your opinions on that? Like, what do you think people should know before, even
Oh
considering
my gosh,
starting a prep?
so much. And so I'm actually working on something around this to help
Yeah,
females in the background at the minute, what will be launching later in summer.
awesome.
Um, but I think this is on a lot of coaches as well, right? Because I think a lot of coaches do push people into
Mm,
comps as soon as they look at like slightly good, or they can see a shape come through. They're like, oh, you should do a comp.
yeah,
Whereas
yeah,
actually for most people, it's probably not. And you can still, people say this all the time, right? You can still pursue physique development without getting on stage. You don't have to
yeah.
go and do a comp. And I think it's amazing, but I think make sure you know what you're getting yourself in for before. So do your research, follow some coaches,
Yeah.
follow other people that are prepping. And
That's
I
a
think,
key point, isn't it? Because it looks like such a glamorous thing to do. Obviously, when you look
yes,
at the day and everyone's in their beautiful bikinis and like
yeah,
jewelry and looking all amazing, like that is, for me, when I look back at prep, that was like what I look at the whole thing with rose tinted glasses because of how amazing the day was. But when I actually
yeah,
think back, I'm like, the prep was horrible.
yeah,
Literally, oh my
yeah.
God. Bear with, my mum is just calling me and it's come straight through on my laptop. How handy is that? Great timing.
Well, I didn't hear anything.
On
Um,
here. Bear with, mum, bear with. Okay.
typical. Yeah, I just think like I say this to my clients all the time, right? You need to love bodybuilding. You need to live like a bodybuilder before you even contemplate getting on stage. So routine, training, all of that needs to be nailed.
Yeah.
And I kind of think as well, if the stage wasn't there, would you still do it? Probably not to the extreme. Would you still want to do it? I
Or
think you have
social
to.
media.
Yes, definitely. I think you
Yeah.
have to be like, enjoy the training and the dieting and obviously you have to enjoy the whole thing, I think. And I think that's what makes it successful for people. And I think a big one is also you need to have your relationship with food intact. And I learned this the hard way. You need to have your relationship with food intact before you go into a prep. So I think I want to make sure with the girls that I work with that, we've got a really good relationship. Everything is rock solid. They're in a very, very good position where I know I can get them in and out of a prep.
Yeah.
I'm going to quote unquote healthily, because it's not healthy, is it really? But as healthily and as safely as possible.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And you see a lot of girls who will start going into a comp without that good relationship with food, and it almost kind of hides the fact that they have, issues going on there, because it becomes normal for the context of a prep where it just isn't and shouldn't be.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I love competing. I love bodybuilding, of course, like that's why I do it. But I think it's not right for everyone. And I don't want to be a coach that just pushes people into competing.
Yeah. And I will say on this as well, because I sometimes wonder, do I come across like I hate bodybuilding? And it's like literally not that. I have so much respect for it, and people that do it, I think it's fucking insane because it's so difficult. And I just, for me personally, I wouldn't want to do it. And the only thing I want to make people aware of is what it is and how hard it is, because it isn't for everyone. Like you say, like you have to have the right relationship with food, you have to have the right mindset. Like you have to be that sort of person, exactly like you and the people that you coach. Otherwise it could be dangerous.
If you are in that position, it's an amazing thing, and I love it. And I would like to think that I can help. I want to basically help girls feel the same way about it that I do. And I think if I can do that, then brilliant. If they want to compete, at least I know that I'm not, you know what I mean? They're doing it for the right reason. They're going to be in a good spot to start with. Like, I know I can help them post show properly. Like, I've got a lot of experience working with clients around relationship with food and body image and that sort of side of things as well. So I think, well, at least we've got the comp side of things, but then we've got everything else that comes with it that I can hopefully support them with as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. So coming back to you to start off with, I love a good tangent. Anyone that's listened to these other episodes will know that. So I just wanted to start with how you got into training, because I think we all have very different, stories of how we got started with training, and especially bodybuilding and all of that. So, what got you started in the first place?
So I used to swim competitively when I was younger. I started swimming when I was 12 and basically competed in swimming up to like national level all the way through my teens until I went to uni. So I studied sports science at uni. And because of the level I was competing at, we did like S&C sessions. So let's strength and conditioning bits and bobs and, the odd bits of weights. And when I got into uni, they had like a big S&C suite, which had squat racks, leg press, all the like standard bits and bobs in. And because then swimming started getting a little bit less serious because I was going out at uni and enjoying stuff a bit more social life, I got a bit more into the training in the weight side of things. And I remember we used to train, I think it was 2 times a week. We did like strength and conditioning. And I spoke to the S&C coach who was helping like the swim team at the time and was like, oh, I really like this. Like, can you write me a more in-depth plan? And I think at that point, he did me like an upper lower plan. So it was like 2 upper and 2 lower. So I just used to go into the S&C suite like by myself on the other sessions and start doing that sort of stuff. So it was very like strength and conditioning focused. So it was all like your big compound lifts as such.
Yeah, of course.
It wasn't bodybuilding really. But that's what got me into it. And then from there, I started, so I worked part-time when I was at uni. I was a lifeguard and I worked at Virgin, and there was like a big, I don't know if you've ever been in a Virgin, but there's like big rings that like overlook the pool on a lot of them.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I used to sit in there and I used to look at the gym and I'd be like, oh, that looks like more fun than lifestyle gym. I was like, maybe I'll do that. So yeah, I got my level 2 fitness instructor at uni when I was in my second year. I also started teaching in a boot camp. It was like a boutique boot camp in Sheffield, which I really loved. So it was actually a bit mad, really, because I was studying at uni and I was working, I think, like 30 hours a week. So I was doing 2 jobs as well when I was at uni.
It's good for you.
Yeah, so I was like, yeah, so teaching, and then obviously when you're in a gym environment, started working, teaching classes at Virgin, and then obviously you start getting into the training, don't you? You start talking to people. There
Yeah,
was a guy at the Virgin in Sheffield that was competing, so I started like kind of getting into that. The boyfriend that I had at the time was very into bodybuilding, so I started training with him.
yeah,
So yeah, that's kind of how it all started with, I guess, the people I was surrounded by, and then the
yeah.
swimming as well got me into the weight side of things a bit more. So that was properly when I was, I mean, I did sport all through like my teens, but probably started properly weight training when I was maybe 19
Yeah. Awesome.
ish.
Have you always had a good relationship with food, like prior to getting into it?
Word
You're
up.
laughing. I'm like, oh God.
Definitely not. No, I had a horrendous relationship with food. Um, I think it was actually, so when I went to uni, you know, when you start getting Instagram and you're like following all these like vlogger people, and you know, like this time 10 years ago, it was
Yeah,
very clean eating, like
very
add
much
courgette
so.
to your oats, like don't eat any sugar, all that sort of thing.
Oh,
Make
that
sugar-free
courgette. Oh my
brownies.
God. You've just reminded me the courgette in the oats. That was
Oh,
horrible. It was honestly made me want to vomit. I tried it once and I was
no.
like, no, no. Can't believe
God.
people did that.
Yeah, I remember the first time I actually tried to make oats. I think I was like 18. Um, and it just was like this horrible clump because I saw someone making it with water and I was like, oh my
Oh,
God,
it's
yeah, I'm going to
disgusting.
make my oats with water.
Yeah.
And I think
Just
I like
stodge.
cooked away in it and it was just disgusting. I was like, I can't eat this.
God, it's just stodge. Do you know what? I haven't eaten oats for 5 years. I think I overdid it, and now I honestly I can't eat it. It makes me feel sick.
I
So
do love
anyway,
oats now. I prefer Weetabix, but
oh yeah,
yeah, I do love oats now. But at the time, I think I just got really wrapped into the Fitspo health culture.
yeah,
And then obviously when I was at uni, I was fine for my first year, and then it just, I don't know how it happened, but it just really deteriorated badly from there, from when I was about 18, 19.
right.
Um, and it basically got to the point where I was like consistently binge eating really, really badly, like to the point where I would wait till everyone had gone to bed in my house at uni and then go and literally eat as much as I could out the cupboards.
Wow. Yeah.
Like food hall, it was really, really bad at one point. But I don't think I realised at the time like what I was actually doing. Like
Yeah.
I didn't realise it was binge eating, or like that's weird, like waiting for everyone to go to bed and then like emptying the cupboards.
Mm. Yeah.
And yeah, that went on for, so that was just when I was actually getting into competing for the first time.
Right.
Um, I like jumped between a few different coaches, didn't do an off season, never dieted before, never tracked my calories consistently, and so very sensibly thought, yeah, let's do a prep. Great.
Oh God.
What was I thinking?
Yeah. Well, this is all the sorts of things that have made you such a good coach now because you've been through all of that.
Yeah, and I feel
Yeah.
like God, if I'd have had better support, I would have been in a much better position now. Well, not
Yeah,
now,
of
but you
course.
know, then.
Yeah.
So yeah, so basically tried to prep, obviously completely failed because couldn't stick to a diet.
Yeah.
And then actually did manage to prep. I think it must have been, I think I was 22. So that kind of went on for maybe 3 years
Right.
and progressively getting worse and worse and worse. And then did actually manage to somehow prep, was still struggling, maybe not quite as bad at that point, but was still like binging throughout a prep.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
obviously then got in a really bad cycle of binge eating and then having to not eat for the next day because I was trying to lose weight.
Mm.
Um, yeah, did manage to get like in decent shape, won the show,
Oh wow.
but then my coach stopped working with me straight after the
What,
show.
right at the end of the
Yeah,
show? Oh my
right at
God.
the end of the show, maybe like 2, 3, maybe 4 weeks post show. I can't remember what it was now. So obviously then it just spiraled. Like I didn't even look like I'd gotten a stage. I didn't get to the point where I was like overweight or anything,
Mm.
but I think because I'd got in such a routine of like of binge eating and then not eating, so obviously
Yeah.
it was meaning that I wasn't really gaining that much weight.
Yeah.
But yeah, then it took me. That's why I had to take such a big gap after I competed that first time. Like it was 4 years, I think.
Yeah.
No, 3 years. But the best part of a year or two after that show,
Mm.
I had to work on, obviously, like I didn't diet. I had to build my calories up. Like I actually worked with Danny Bosworth,
Yeah.
because she was my friend. I was living with her at the time, so she was just like coaching me to help me out a bit.
That's good.
Yeah, and basically it was the best part of 2 years, just like getting everything back. And it did get to the point where it like I was completely, absolutely fine with food, like, no issues at all, like just not food focused really. But it took a long time to get to that point.
Yeah.
And at that point I was like, I'm never going to compete again. I had a really negative experience. I was like, this is just not for me. Like I don't want to go through that again. It was horrible. But then yeah, it just naturally got to the point where I was like, you know what? Yeah, like I am in a good spot.
Mm.
And yeah, since then, since probably after that first show, it's been absolutely fine. It just took a
Yeah.
long time to obviously come out the other end of it.
Yeah. Oh, that's so
Yeah.
interesting.
So
Because
that's
you
that.
look at you now and you just be like, yeah, she's fine. Like you can't even
Yeah.
imagine you having those sorts of issues. But honestly, think it's awful, obviously, but it's a really important like learning curve, I think, for a lot
Yeah.
of people. And I know so many people have been in that boat with like the whole Fitspo, clean eating, all of that,
Yeah.
just having the wrong kind of influence on you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I was the same, not from a binge eating perspective, but from a like just not eating enough restrictive perspective. Like I was
Yeah.
obsessed with eating clean. Everything had to be clean. I did an Instagram post the other day that was like, I distinctly remember this day where I was like, I genuinely got sad because I thought I'm never going to be able to eat cake again. Like that's
Oh
how I
God.
thought. I was like, I can't. Like it's not part of my life now.
Yeah.
I'm different.
Sometimes.
So dramatic. But yeah, absolutely hilarious when you look back sometimes.
Yeah, it's mad, but I just think like I don't know. I never saw how bad it was until I was out the other end of it. I just didn't. I just thought I was just, I don't
Yeah,
know, eating too much food or whatever. I didn't realize
yeah,
at the time, and I think I was really, really nervous initially to talk about it because I didn't want people to look down on me as a coach and
yeah,
think, "Oh, she struggled,"
yeah.
you know.
That
But
actually makes you more relatable as a coach because
yeah,
you've done it, you've been
exactly.
there.
And
Yeah,
also, I put a lot of work into improving it and also educating myself so I could obviously
yeah,
help other people.
absolutely. Yeah. Um, Slight tangent here, but I've recently seen that you did the 10,000 calorie challenge. It looked horrific.
It was.
See,
Didn't
this is
do it.
something I like to think I could do because I'm a big foodie, but I watched it and I was like, oh, I actually don't think I could
Yeah.
do that.
Well, I learned a lot, let's say that.
How was it?
It was awful. You know what? I was getting a little bit ill. I was getting a chest infection and I didn't realise. So I'm gonna put part of the blame on the fact that I was getting ill, so my appetite wasn't very good.
Probably wouldn't help.
And also I'm at the end of an off season, so that wasn't great because my appetite was already pretty non existent. But
Yeah,
I thought I had a big appetite. I thought I am a foodie. I love food. I love going out for food, but I couldn't do it. It was just it's because Will, right, my boyfriend, he bodybuilds as well, and he does like high days, which are like a lot of. I think we added his up to be about 10,000. And
wow.
he was always like, oh, I'm so full, like I can't go to bed, I can't lie down. And I was like, stop moaning, like you get loads of food, what are you complaining about? And then when I did it at the end of the day, I was like, I take everything back, this is worse than
Oh, is it bad?
dieting, like I'd rather be hungry.
Talk me through it. Talk me through it. Like, how did you get that food in?
I don't know. Hannah planned it basically. So she planned it. And I was just like, yeah, whatever, I'll just go along with it. So we just spaced it out throughout the day and we thought, right, we'll go high carb in the morning,
Yeah,
fats in the evening, because we thought if we go fats in the day, that's going to just mess us up a bit.
yeah.
Um, so we had like cereal, we had Pop Tarts, we had cream of rice. Why did we have cream of rice? I don't even like cream of rice.
No, it's horrible.
And then we had this massive cookie. So, have you heard of like Cookie Box?
Yes.
So we had a slab, which is great,
Oh, wow.
but not a slab of it.
Yeah.
And it had loads of chocolate on top, and it was just
Too much.
I just couldn't do it. That's the bit where I failed because I just couldn't eat the
No.
cookie.
So how many calories did you get to?
I got to 8,000, which I'm still quite happy with.
That's good. It's a good effort.
Yeah, we had Five Guys, we had some sweets. I think I'm literally scarred from jam now though, because we had to put loads of jam. We had like croissants and jam, and you know when you just eat too much of something and then it's just
Yeah.
every time I put it on my bagel the other day, and I was like la 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 la, and then I picked up my bagel, I was like, oh my god.
Oh no. Oh, that's bad.
Oh
I suppose you
god.
have to have like different sorts of food, like salty, sweet. Like you
Yes.
can't have too much of the same.
Yeah, that's the problem we face. We had too much of the same, and then it's like taste fatigue builds up.
Yeah. Oh god.
Yeah.
Oh no. Maybe I need to reconsider. I genuinely thought I could do that, but I think you
Awful.
thought you could do that as well.
I thought I was like, I'm gonna do a 15k challenge. What?
No. What if you like drank some of your calories? Not alcohol. I was like, well, that's one way to do it. Is just get pissed. No, like
get drunk and get taken.
No, I was thinking like, I don't know. Could you just drink like? Well, I put cyclodextrin in my training drink. Could you not just bang a whole load of sugar in your drink?
Well, apparently you're not allowed to drink your calories on the 10k challenge.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, that's hard.
I was going to get a 5 shake, and they were like, "No, you can't do that.
You can't do a shake. Shakes are not like, I suppose. Well, they are a drink. You know what I mean? They're like thick.
Yeah,
it's different. Could you not just like freeze it and make it into like a half ice cream?
Maybe. I don't know. But anyway, I've never done it again. So it's okay. But God,
Oh my god,
but
horrific.
like me at one point would have done that, because I would have been like that would have
trigger
spiraled me, or or it would have I would have been worried about the weight gain. But I think I've done so much work in the past that now I'm just like so impartial towards like weight gain or weight loss. Like it's just part of it. It doesn't bother me at all. Or you know, even with food, like I love food, but I can take or leave it. Like it doesn't rule my life, you know?
Yeah. That's when you know that you're in like such a good headspace with it, because you see people a lot of the time, particularly on social media, who claim that they have, you know, solved all their relationships with food or issues with food, and they talk about it all the time. But to me, that's like it's almost like a red flag, because it's like you wouldn't feel the need to talk about it or say what you've eaten that day, or you know, pushed it in people's faces, because you literally wouldn't be thinking about it. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It does take a lot of time, I think, to get to that point where you are just I think that's where you want to be, like, to have a good relation with food. Like, you just want to be kind of impartial towards food as such.
Absolutely. Yeah, still enjoy it by all means, but
of course. Like, I love a meal out, and I think like I am quite flexible as a bodybuilder. Like I love bodybuilding. Obviously, yes, I'm on it. I make sure I don't miss my meals. I obviously stick to my plan that I need to when I'm prepping. But if someone said to me when I'm not dieting, "Do you want to go out for dinner?" I'll be like, "Yeah, great."
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
know, like,
I love a good dinner.
Me too. Like a good brunch. Like and me and Dan does my coaching, so I basically I do follow a meal plan because it's just structure-wise it's easier. But I do swap things around. I have like 3 calories. So in my off season, I had like 600 calories a day. So if I wanted to go out and have a dinner or a coffee or an ice cream or whatever, I had the flexibility to do that, and I like that because to me, you know, I still want to also live my life and be able to go and do things and have a lunch out with my friends if I want to. You know, that's important to me as well.
Absolutely, I'm the same. Love
a good meal out.
Yeah, oh yeah. You touched on it earlier, coming out of a competition prep. Like that's an incredibly difficult place to be. Do you have any advice for anyone in terms of like how they could handle coming out of a competition prep?
Yes. So
you're like, I have so much advice. I don't know where to start.
No, so I feel like I've learned a lot over the years of competing of how to do this and not to do this. So I think the first thing is treat the first 4 weeks post-show like a prep.
Interesting.
Because a lot of people finish the prep and then, oh my God, amazing, loads of meals out, you know, and you need to get your appetite settled. You need to get your food up nice and high. you know, get a bit of body fat on, and then once you've done that, you can relax a bit.
Yeah.
But I just think if you're smashing like loads of meals out and you've got no structure, you know, your
Yeah.
weight comes up really quick and then you can't build your food up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you just, you know what I mean? So I just think if you can really, so what Dan and I do before is we'll go through all the foods that I like fancy or I want to include, and then we'll basically write a meal plan, including those, and we'll be like, right, this is the plan for post show. You're going to have this meal out, and then we're going to go back to this. And for me, it works better just going back to a plan straight away, because before I've had it where I've been like, right, let's have just a couple of days chilled, and I don't like that because it's so structured to so unstructured.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not saying I'm fine, you know, maybe a bit later in the year or a bit later down the line, but initially in that post show phase, I think it does really help being that, right, this is what your meals are going to be, you know, it just helps. So I think keep it structured.
Yeah.
Make sure you get your food up straight away, because a lot of people faff about bringing the calories up and doing a super slow diet. Like, you don't need to do that. Like, get your calories straight up to maintenance. I think my calories literally came up literally like nearly 1,500 a day at the start.
Yeah, I think mine was about 1,000 when I did it, at least. Yeah.
Yeah, so whack your calories up, make sure you've got a structure. I think don't cram the social events either, because I think it's just, you need to give yourself a bit of breathing space just to get yourself back.
Yeah. You touched on appetite there as well. Like, I don't know about you, but when I competed, I couldn't physically get full. Like,
it's impossible.
I was a bottomless pit of a person.
Yeah, and I think that's the tip as well. It's like accepting that you're not going to just finish competing and be full after a day or two. Like, you have to accept the fact that you probably are going to be hungry for 4 to 6 weeks post show.
Yeah.
And like, it's, once you accept that, okay, I'm still hungry, but I know like my calories are high, I know this is going to settle. It just takes a bit of time for those hormones to like stabilize off, and then you will, you know, once your appetite is settled, you're in a much better position to go out and have a meal or go on holiday, because, you know, but if you go and you're out on meals every day, it's super hard because you're just hungry all the time, and your calories then are just going to fly up.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think you just have to like embrace the suck for the first 4 weeks.
Embrace the suck. I love it. That's so true. It's so true.
It's the hardest bit though, right? Because you've got the flexibility. When you're on prep, you don't have any decision making, because you're like, right, this is my plan and that's that.
Yeah.
Whereas when you post show, you've got people saying like, oh, you can come out for meals now. Like, you're not on prep. And you're like, oh, actually, yeah, I could. Like, I can do that. That's okay. But then you've also got the thing of like, but you need to let things stabilize off as well. So I'm in a position now where I went on holiday literally just under 2 weeks after I competed last year.
Right.
And I was absolutely fine. Like, because I'm at the point now where I know what I need to do.
Yeah, you've got the experience.
Yeah, like I think, to be fair, I dragged out mine a bit long this last time because I had a lot going on in summer, and I knew that I didn't want, you know, to just whack on loads of weight. So I was really conservative, and I think I stayed lean actually for too long. But again, that's just learning. I know this time I need to get my calories. My calories are already high, but I need to be a bit more, you know, I need to get my body fat on quicker, because it meant that I didn't get my cycle back for like 6 months after, which is obviously not ideal.
Yeah, not ideal. Not ideal.
Yeah, a lot of learning.
Yeah, you'll be forever learning with that sort of thing, because it's always going to be slightly different every time you do it as well.
Exactly.
Yeah. So off season, well, I don't really call it that with my clients because I have lifestyle clients. So I just prefer it to be improvement of your body or whatever. Like, lots of people, again, on social media, I always come back to this, sort of almost like look like they despise their bodies in quote unquote off season when they're not in prep shape. They're not, you know, that lean. How do you deal with that with yourself and your clients? Because you seem like you have a really great relationship with your body. Like, you look fantastic, you know, in and out of prep, like in a different way. And you seem really comfortable with your off season, you know.
Yeah,
I don't like calling it that. Your improvement season.
Yeah, I don't call it that with clients, because I just think I don't want them to. I think this is diversion, but I think we'll cover this in a sec. But I think you have to be really careful as a coach, if you're a bodybuilder, not to coach your non-competitive clients like bodybuilders.
Yes.
So I make a really, really conscious effort. Like, they don't have off-plan meals. I have
No.
off-plan meals. They don't have off-plan meals. They
No.
don't have meal plans, you know, unless
Yeah.
they are competing.
Yeah.
They don't have I think we can touch on that,
I
but I just think,
completely agree. I completely
yeah, you have
agree.
to be
But yeah.
careful. But anyway, body image. So yeah, I have I think I have a great body image. I'm quite happy. Like I feel I'm literally just started prep one
Yeah.
day and I'm quite happy. Like I feel great, you know. It really doesn't bother me carrying a bit more body fat, and I think it's
Yeah.
cool being lean. Like I go to the gym and I think, oh my god, like look, I've got like my shoulders are lined, like I've got lines on my shoulders, like it's really cool. But yeah, I think I'm at the point now where I'm like, you know what, it really doesn't matter. Like
Yeah.
it really doesn't matter if I've got a bit more body fat. Like I get to go out, I get to live my life. You know, I can have loads of fun. I can go on holiday.
Yeah.
You know, I did so much fun stuff last year. Like I went on a weekend away with my parents and my sister. I went on an amazing holiday. I went away with my friends. I had my
Yeah.
best friend's wedding in Hendu. And I just think, God, I had such an amazing year.
Yeah.
And you know what? Yeah, I gained a bit of body fat, but you
So
know what? It's fine. Like it's really not the end of the world. It's a bit of fat. I know I can lose it. And
yeah.
you know what? I remember at one point when I was in prep and I was stood side on doing an exercise in a gym, and I was looking in the mirror and I literally had no bum. And I was looking at myself like, oh my god, I literally look like a stick insect.
I hated that on prep. I literally had no bum, no boobs. I was like a stick
Yeah,
insect. I hated
yeah,
it, honestly. Yeah.
yeah. And I think that really kind of hit me then when I went through prep. I was like, you know what? I don't actually feel any more confident now than I do when I'm like 30 pounds heavier.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I just think you get to the point where you're like, so what? It's a bit of body fat. Like it really does not matter.
Yeah.
And I think when you're like living your life and, you know, training's good, I can go out for food, I can go on holiday. I'm like, actually, that
Yeah.
makes me really happy and that's important.
Exactly. Do you have any
So,
advice for anyone who might be, in a quote unquote improvement season, struggling a little bit with their body image?
yeah, I do think the more you do it as well, it does get easier because obviously you start to build muscle. So you do look slightly
Yeah.
better with a bit more body fat because you've got the muscle. So I remember the first time I went through a proper improvement phase, I did get like quite bigger
Yeah.
than I would have liked. And I do remember looking at my photos and being like, oh, okay, yeah, I do feel a bit uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But I think you just have to like take a breath and be like, you know what, it's got a purpose. It's not going to be forever. Like realistically, if I compare myself to 95% of the population,
Yeah.
I might feel like I'm big or overweight, but I'm not. Like it's
Yeah.
just because you're comparing yourself to your leanest. So I think it's just being logical with it and reminding yourself that, you know, you're okay, you're not overweight, you're just carrying a bit more body fat and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
And I think really focusing on the positives. So like, you know, for example, with me, like I get more like a bigger bum and, you know, my boobs
Mhm.
fill out a bit more and you've got good energy, you can go out for meals. So I think you have to like train yourself to focus on the positives that come with it.
Yeah.
And I think also reminding yourself that actually, when you're leaner, do you feel any more confident? Because I still had days on prep where I still had, everyone has bad body image days, right? I
Yes.
still had days where I was like, oh God, I feel a bit ropey today or whatever about my body image.
Yeah.
And that didn't, like, I weigh 35 pounds heavier now than I did at the end of my prep.
Yeah. Yeah.
I still probably have, well, probably even more so when you lean, I think, because you're like hyper focused on it. But
Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
just think being leaner doesn't mean that you have better body image. It's how you view yourself, not what you actually look like.
Completely agree. I think I'm the heaviest I've ever been in my life at the moment and probably feel the best I've ever
Yeah,
felt in my life. I
yeah.
don't think it's got anything to do with it.
No, and I think a lot of people look at people that are lean or think about themselves when they're lean and they're like, oh, if I look like that, I would be so confident all the time. Like that would solve all of my issues.
Yeah.
But it
Yeah.
doesn't.
It doesn't. It
No.
doesn't. I always think it's interesting. This is completely different, but the same at the same time. If you ever speak to someone who's a really good singer, you know, when you look at them and you go, oh, damn, like if I could sing like that, I'd be so happy. I'd sing all the time. They are going to be the most critical people of their own singing
Yeah.
you have ever spoken to. And it's the same. It's the same concept for body image. Like when you look at, you look at someone else and think, oh, they're so lean, they have the shape that I want, I bet they feel amazing. They
Yeah.
probably have just as many bad body image days as you.
Yeah. And I think when you are super lean as well, because your energy is so low and you generally are like, it is hard, isn't it? Being hungry all the time.
Yes.
I think you're
Yeah,
not really focusing on
very.
like how cool you look because you're
No.
just hungry and tired and
Yeah.
you're just like, yeah, it's hard. So I think
Yeah.
it's not all it's cracked up to be either.
No. And as you say, you're going to be more hyper fixated on, what you actually look like, because you're going to be looking at yourself
Yeah,
every
exactly.
day, and it's exhausting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if you're going through a prep and you're taking, I mean, at the end of the prep, you're taking photos and videos every day, you're weighing yourself every day. Like,
Yeah.
I think it's just important to separate from that and be like, this is a sport, this is an extreme. Like, that's not me, as such. Like, that I am
Absolutely.
more than just my weight and what I look like
Yeah.
and not
Absolutely.
attaching too much emotion to it.
Yeah. Still like that now. Like, I think regardless whether you're on prep or not, I think that's really, really important.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've actually stopped weighing myself. It
Yeah.
just sort of fizzled out, to be honest. I was doing it for, like, I don't know, hypertrophy purposes. I don't have
Yeah.
any attachment, like emotional attachment, to scale weight at all. But I've just got to a point where I can't be asked. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I've actually just stopped.
For most people, though, if we're being honest, like most people probably don't need to weigh themselves. And
No.
I have clients that don't weigh themselves or they'll weigh themselves maybe once a month. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not a coach that's like every single person must get progress photos
No.
and weigh on a weekly basis,
Yeah.
because some people it's not
Yeah.
in
I'm
line with
probably
their
doing
goals.
it sporadically every like couple of weeks, but it's not
Yeah.
like something before, like you would been like every single day. Every
Yeah.
single day. Let's take an average,
Yeah.
go for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah. Um I was just about to say something and I've completely forgotten my train of thought. Oh, actually, do you know, it's one of the questions I got asked on Instagram when I did our little question box
Yeah.
yesterday. How do I overcome taking progress pics because I don't like the way I look?
Oh god,
It's interesting
that's a
because
really broad
my
question.
my instant one is don't take them. You don't
Yeah.
have to take them.
Yeah. I think ask yourself first
Why
why
are you
don't you
taking
like
them?
taking them? Yeah, or why are
Yeah,
you taking them? Like, do you need
yeah,
to take them? Because I think if it's causing more emotional stress than it's worth, then maybe you need to take a bit of time away from them and just focus on actually
yeah,
improving your body image. Because I think if you have a negative body image and then you're doing something to hyper focus yourself on that,
yeah.
it's probably not going to help. So
No.
maybe taking a bit of time away and working on your body image and then coming back to them later down the line
Yes, that's true.
as a
But
start.
also keep in mind, like, I always regret not taking any, like, at the start of my journey because I hated how I
Yeah,
looked. But now I'm like, damn, I wish I had those because
that's like me.
I look really different
Yeah,
now.
I know it's funny. I've got,
Yeah,
you see people on Instagram and they're like 6 year transformation or whatever. And I'm
yeah.
like, oh, they got training videos. I'm like, God, I never did anything. I never
Training
did any training
videos
videos.
weren't a thing. Like, literally, no. I
No,
have like two pictures and that's it, and they're both
yeah,
awful.
that's like me.
So on
So
the side.
I think just don't draw yourself to your negatives as well, because loads of people,
Yeah,
the first thing they'll do when they see a photo of themselves is they'll think, oh, I hate that. That's horrible. Don't like that. What
yeah.
about if you just took a second and was like, actually, like, I've made this progress or I'm quite happy with this?
Yeah, absolutely. I think
I think
don't
that
compare your progress pictures all the time because there's no point, particularly if you're in like a hypertrophy phase. It's not going to
yeah,
happen that quickly. So you can't be looking, every single week, oh, this is the progress that I've made this week, because
yeah,
you're not going to see it. You're not going to see it. Every now
yeah,
and again, obviously compare, from a few months ago or whatever, great. But
yeah.
there's no point getting hung up on it on a weekly basis, I don't think.
No, I say this to my clients all the time. Like, when I have girls that have come from fat loss phases and they're going into like hypertrophy and they haven't done that before. And it's
Yeah,
really difficult for them because they're so used to seeing quite drastic
drastic.
progress within maybe 3 to 4 months. And all of a sudden, it's taken 7, 8, 9 months before they see any sort of change. And for them, it's like, well, what's the point? Why am I doing this? And it's like understanding that
Yeah.
you have to move away from that if you have a hypertrophy goal.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Depends
Um,
on the goal, really, doesn't it? I guess what the
yeah,
goal
absolutely
is.
does. Same as you say, like any sort of fat loss phase, generally speaking, you'll see more drastic changes with your
Yeah,
pictures. But you know, just as example, like me myself, I've been in sort of a body recomp small surplus phase for the last 3 years, and it takes time for you to see
Yeah.
progress like that. It doesn't necessarily happen as quickly
Yeah.
as I would like. But you know,
Yeah, and even like I rarely compare progress photos like from when I'm in a building phase because I know it takes time, but I put
yeah,
mine together from the start of my last prep, so the end of my off season last year. So that was January last year.
yeah,
I put them next to today's, and I'm gonna be honest, like there wasn't really that much difference, and I am carrying a bit more body fat now, so obviously you can't really see it that much, but I was like really looking and I was like, I think I'm a bit denser, but we'll see. And that's over a year.
yeah, yeah,
And that's with a prep, obviously, but
yeah,
I finished my prep last May. So it's been a year since I prepped.
yeah.
And I even looked at mine and was like, yeah, I think, but not 100%. Not
Oh
sure.
God, yeah. I know. Well, that's an important point actually, because I don't think progress pictures always show it. Like they're good, they're better than nothing. But I think the way that you feel day to day, like training videos and stuff like that, you can see it
Yeah.
more than,
Yeah.
just a picture like front on, side on, whatever.
Yeah. And also, a lot of people aren't posed like I was because I was in my, obviously, like my figure poses, but if you just stood there and you're trying to compare hypertrophy progress, like you're not posed, you're not tense, like
Yeah.
you're not got a pump.
Yeah.
Whereas maybe if you take, I actually had that with one of my clients. She started filming herself in the gym, and she's like, "Oh, I actually look quite good." And I was like, "Yeah, I know, because you've actually got some blood in your muscle, and you're
Yeah.
moving. You're not just stood there at 5 o'clock in the morning."
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah,
true. Okay, second question from Instagram. I get gym anxiety. How do I deal with that? I think this is a really important one because it's so
Mm.
common. Like people just being, scared. I still get it now. I can't lie to you. If the
yeah,
gym is busy, I can literally be there like, oh my God, I don't want to go in.
yeah. I think I still have that sometimes, especially if I'm in a new
Yeah.
gym and I'm like, "Oh, all
Yeah.
the people that go here are here."
I know, and it's so difficult. You'd think like if you've been training long enough, you'd be fine with it, but I still get it.
Yeah,
I'm still like, oh my God, I'd rather be anywhere but here.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
What are your
I think
tips
with
for?
that,
Yeah.
I think the first thing is sometimes you just have to put your big girl pants on and just go in,
Yeah.
because sometimes you can like make it worse than what it actually is. Like if you're like hovering around, like looking at people, you scare yourself off. So I think sometimes you just
Yeah.
have to kind of think, right, come on, just go in, get going, you'll be fine. Realistically, no one's looking at you, everyone's doing their own thing.
Yeah.
I think do make sure you've got a plan before you go in. Make sure you know what you're going to do. You know the order of your exercises. You set and you rep. You set. God, I can't speak today. You set and you rep ranges,
Yeah.
so you know what your session's looking like.
Yeah.
Something I get some of the girls to do if they're going in a new gym is I'll get them to go and like walk on the treadmill so they can like scout out the gym a bit so they know where the kit is if it's like
I
a
do
new
that.
gym, which works quite well.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it gives you time to like gauge your surroundings a little
It
bit.
does. Yeah.
Yeah, put some headphones on, get some good music on,
Yeah.
and then at least you know in and you go in and you know where you're going and what exercises you're doing.
Yeah. All good advice. And if you can take a friend or something, like
Yeah,
sometimes every now and again it makes it so much easier.
yeah, it does definitely.
Yeah.
And stick if it's the first time or you're feeling a bit nervous. Stick to exercises that you know you feel confident with. So if
Yeah.
you're nervous or anxious about going in a gym, don't go and do an exercise in the busiest area of the gym that you don't feel confident with. Like stick to the things at
Yeah.
first that you feel confident with, and then as you start to develop and grow in confidence, you'll probably feel okay to go on to the
Yeah.
exercises that maybe you don't feel as confident with.
Yeah. Good point. Really good point. Um, Next question. The summer is coming up. It's lovely
Oh yeah,
outside today.
it is.
Obviously, this is where for a lot of people it becomes more difficult to stick to their fitness regime because it gets hotter.
Yes.
There's more social things going on,
Yeah.
holidays being booked, all of that good stuff. What advice would you give to people who are wanting to stay relatively on track throughout the summer?
Oh, I feel like we're going for ages. So, okay, I think you can kind of come at this with two angles, because if you're, for me, for example, right, I'm on prep, I've got some clients on prep. Like, that is the most important thing above anything. And like for me, I know that I'm on my meal plan, that's that. Whatever plans I have, I don't care. I'm taking my meal prep with me. I'll
Yeah.
get a Diet Coke because there's so much more I can do that doesn't involve eating things that aren't aligned with my goals. Like I can still, last year I went out away with my friends for a weekend. We went to Chester and I just took my meal prep with me. I went to the zoo with them. We went out for dinner. I had a Diet Coke. It
Yeah.
really, really does not bother me in the slightest. And I'll still happily go away and go to meals out and I just won't eat. So I
Yeah.
think from that perspective, like your goals come first. And I think you have to prioritize that. But obviously, if you're not someone that is getting on stage, you don't need to be that extreme and you can still eat out. Of course, like if you just, I've got girls that are, just maybe losing weight for weddings or, trying to just stay in decent shape for holidays. And I think with that, you can still eat out. I think you just have to keep your goals in mind because obviously, if you're going out every weekend and you're eating, thousands and thousands of calories and you're not thinking about anything, you
Yeah.
probably are going to gain body fat. So I think it's just a case of keep your goals in mind, make sure that on the days that you can do things, you're doing them. So like if you know you're busy on a weekend or you've got a weekend trip, like get your steps, your training nailed through the week, make sure you're on point with sticking to your nutrition targets. And then at least it's like 80%, you're still getting done what you need to. And then I
Yeah.
think the rest of it. So I'll work, I'm sure you're the same with like your girls, but I'll work with the girls a lot on like going through the weekends, like what do they have planned, right? How can we
Yes.
be sensible with the decisions? So like if they are going out for dinner and drinks, can we get them to have a session in the morning? Can we make sure they go on a big walk? Can they
Yeah.
maybe choose lower calorie drinks?
Yeah.
So it's just, I think it's just being sensible and thinking, okay, yeah, I can still go out, but some of the girls will track the food, for example. So if you are tracking your calories, can you maybe have a bit of a think about what meal you're going to have? Choosing something grilled, swapping the chips for a lower calorie side, saying no to dessert. So I think in that situation, you can still go out and have a really nice time. And
Yeah.
remember that you can still be there and be present and enjoy time with friends and family without eating dessert and having 18 glasses of wine.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's trying to get yourself out of that all or nothing mentality. I have some
Yeah,
clients that really struggle with that and trying to get them to work through it, where if you can have
yeah,
that meal out without having to turn it into a whole weekend of eating like
exactly.
shit. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm the same as you. Like I have so many clients who really, really struggle with that. And we just have to work through it. It's just a case of like talking through it with them, going through their mindset, and eventually it does sort of sink in. But I think
Yep.
it does take a lot of time, especially when people have been living that way for years and years and years,
Yeah.
and they've been going out and using it as a bit of a free for all. It's probably not going to change into something sensible in like 2 weeks. It's probably going to take a few months to just build that in so it becomes more natural.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And on the complete opposite end of the spectrum with summer, obviously when it's
Yeah.
hot, obviously this is not you because you're on prep, but if you're in off season or improvement season or trying to, achieve hypertrophy throughout the
Yeah.
summer, do you have any advice when your appetite goes to shit with the heat?
Yeah. Literally me all the time.
Oh,
Oh
every
God,
summer
yeah.
I'm like, oh God, I have to have another meal. I just
I
want to
think,
eat like fruit and smoothies in
yeah,
the summer. I don't want anything
like
else.
salad.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I do think that's hard to be fair.
It's really hard.
It is. I think try and make sure if you need to manipulate your food choices,
Yeah,
change them to things that you actually enjoy eating because there's no certain food you have to eat for hypertrophy. Like as long as you're getting your protein in, if you want to have, cold meals or like yogurt and fruit and, maybe salad, you can do like barbecue food and things like obviously potatoes and pasta. Like you can eat that cold. You
yeah,
don't have to be eating, spaghetti
yeah.
bolognese or whatever if you don't want to or whatever you eat it. And I think make it foods that you enjoy. That was so random, wasn't it? I do love spaghetti bolognese.
I remember last summer, I think my mum cooked like I love a roast dinner, don't get me wrong, but like
Yeah,
you do not want to sit there and eat like really
no,
hot potatoes and gravy on a summer's day. I
no.
struggled through that.
Yeah, yeah, no, I get what you mean. Yeah, make it things to enjoy. And then something that really helped me when my appetite went a little bit was try and like stick to meal timings roughly, or like eating windows, because otherwise
Yes.
I would find I was getting to like 2 o'clock and I was going to train and I'd be like, I've only had 2 meals. So, I think having an eating window where it's like, right, I need to eat a meal between this and this time, because it just keeps you in that routine. And then, because naturally you're not going to want to eat when you're not
Yeah.
hungry, sorry.
Yeah.
Um, so I think having that window and being like, right, okay, this is when I need to eat, because probably if you're trying to gain muscle and your appetite's gone a bit, you're probably going to have to eat when you're not really hungry, unfortunately.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah,
Obviously opting for calorie dense foods as well. Like people
yeah.
deem them to be bad. I don't know why. It's like, oh, just because
No,
it's not
no.
like, yeah, fruit or veg or really,
Yeah,
high volume. It's like, no, this is so good. Like cook with oil, do all these good things that are going to
yeah.
make it so easy for you to hit your calories.
Yeah, yeah, like I'll do that with my clients. Like even things like people are so drilled into eating 0% fat yogurt and 5% fat
Yeah,
mince. Like
you don't get the
you can
full
get
fat stuff.
20% fat mince, you can get
Yeah,
full fat Greek yogurt, you can add honey and nuts and seeds and
yeah,
granola, dried
yeah,
fruit,
yeah.
cheese. There's so many things you can do to get that calorie intake without adding the volume.
Literally, I cook, I think, all my dinners with olive oil. Literally, just a tablespoon of that, 120
Yeah,
calories. Like, just
easy
whack it in
calories.
there. You don't know it's there, and it tastes
Yeah,
better.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. I agree.
exactly. Awesome. So I got some quick fire questions from social media to
Ooh,
finish us
okay.
off. So first things first, is working out with body weight or dumbbells comparable to a full gym when you're trying to build muscle?
Honestly, probably not.
Probably not. Probably not, I
No, I
agree.
think unless you are very new to training and that's still providing a new stimulus, if you've got someone that's brand new to training and they start training with light dumbbells at home,
Yeah.
it's still more than what they were doing before, right? But what do you once you've reached the upper limit of that? You need something more. So I think
Yeah,
it's difficult to build muscle training at home, if I'm completely honest.
I agree. I agree. Can start off as
Yeah,
a beginner, as you say, and then it's kind of like, right, you need to up your game a little bit, tackle the gym
yeah,
anxiety, get
yeah,
yourself down
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, you can
exactly.
you can you can probably maintain muscle and lose fat doing that. But I
Yeah,
think if you really want to make hypertrophy progress, you probably
yeah,
need a gym at some point.
exactly. Cool. Question two. Cardio before or after lifting?
After,
Yep.
because
Yep, yep,
you don't
yep.
want to pre-fatigue yourself going into the weights. You're
Yeah,
trying to train hard, good intensity. Probably not
exactly.
going to do that if you're
The
sweating to death after and cardio
Exactly.
sessions.
I mean, the most optimal way you could do it, and obviously isn't always the most practical way to do it, but if you can do it on a rest day or you can do it at a different time of
Yeah,
day, I would,
yeah,
just yeah,
like, yeah.
obviously
What I
not
do
the
in mine,
most
I'll get up, do
practical.
my cardio in the morning, um, and then I'll go back and do my weights like in the afternoon when I've done a bit of work.
Yeah,
But obviously, most people probably don't want to go to the gym twice a day.
twice. Yeah.
Yeah,
I always say this to my clients, like if you have to do it whilst you're there, I would do it after your session for starters. And if you can prioritize it, so it's like tagged onto the back of like a push day or an upper day
yeah,
as opposed to a lower day, I would.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's literally exactly the same as what I say.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Glad we align on that.
Yes, thank you.
um, question three. Thoughts on training around your cycle?
Okay. Oh my god, I could go on for ages about this.
I know, same. I literally
Um,
did a whole
okay.
seminar on this at the weekend.
Yeah, I find this so interesting, right? I feel like I've learned a lot about this over the years. So I think there are there are times, and obviously it does affect you.
Yeah,
Like you may feel if you're in the late luteal phase, you're coming on your period, you may find your energy's a bit lower, motivation's a bit lower, etc. So I think just go in and do the best you can. I think training in some capacity does help, but I also think people talk themselves into thinking that they're going to be weaker. So they think, oh, I'm coming on my period, I'm
yes,
going to feel really tired, and it's like you convince yourself that you're going to have a bad session because you're
yeah,
coming on your period. Whereas
yeah,
if you went in and didn't have any awareness of that, you'd probably be absolutely fine. So I think
yeah,
it's a fine line between yes, it does in some capacity, but you know, there's no conclusive evidence that every single person gets weaker pre coming on the period.
Yeah, some new research has come out recently actually saying that there isn't actually a direct link at all between your hormones and your strength in the gym. What does
Oh,
get impacted though is your psychology. So if you feel less
right.
motivated, your
Yeah.
perception of your performance goes down.
Okay.
And also, whilst it might not directly influence your training per se, it can influence your behaviors outside of that. So maybe your sleep quality might get reduced a little bit
Yeah.
because of your luteal phase. You might change your eating habits ever so slightly. Like all of those things go and have a knock-on effect, but it's not directly linked, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's really interesting. I think it's the same
Yeah.
with food as well, because a lot of people talk themselves into thinking, I'm coming on my period, I'm going to have loads of cravings, and then they like convince themselves that they need to eat loads of chocolate.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I mean, why not? But yeah.
Everyone loves chocolate.
Love it. Yeah. Awesome. The final question is, what's your biggest mistake that you've made with your fitness over the years?
Oh God.
Yeah, that's quite a difficult one actually.
I
I don't know if
think
that's
it's
a
really
quick
tough because
fire.
I sometimes think, well, if I hadn't have made that mistake, would I be here now
True.
doing this?
It's a learning curve.
Yeah, because I don't know, I wouldn't change anything I've done. I
Yeah.
think the biggest mistake is probably going into that first prep. I probably shouldn't have done that, you know.
Yeah.
Probably should have worked on actually just getting a routine, getting a good relationship with food before even thinking about that.
Yeah. Agree.
But at the time, I didn't realise that I was struggling, so I wouldn't
Yeah.
have known.
Yeah. Makes sense. Makes sense. That's all the
Yeah,
questions I have. Oh,
amazing.
that was
Oh,
fun.
that
I
was
like
fun.
that.
Yeah, yeah, me too. That was really good.
Yeah, awesome.
Hope
And I
it
really
helps it.
appreciate, really appreciate all your advice. I think we align on pretty much everything. So that's good.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I just want to, yeah, I want to come across as kind of like, I love bodybuilding. It's great. I coach people within, bodybuilding and photo shoots, but it doesn't have to be OCD extreme.
yeah,
Same
yeah,
approach for everyone.
I agree. Yeah, that's exactly how you've come across for what it's worth. And that's good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Well,
Oh,
we'll have to get another podcast in at some point. And I'm sure I have like so many other questions that we can talk about. So that's
we
good.
can do a show breakdown, or maybe
Oh
maybe you
yeah.
can maybe we can do another one when I'm nearer to show, and we can we can
Yeah.
get a more honest prep
Oh
insight.
my God, let's do that. Let's definitely do that. Awesome.
Yeah,
Right.
right. So,
Thanks so much for coming on the show, Leah. Have a lovely lovely rest of your day. And I'll speak
thank
to you soon.
you. Thanks, it's been really fun. Thank you.
See you in the next episode, guys. It's done.
Ah.